Hi everyone, it's Joel and Andy on the Stay Hungry podcast. Today we're going to be talking about self-confirming bias in marketing. Andy, close one, you couldn't hear me then.
Oh, I can hear you now. Loud and clear. Self-confirming bias. Fucking hell, that sounds big.
It's your idea.
Oh, yeah, I suppose so. Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, self-fulfilling prophecy. No, but we just said it was, but in hindsight it's not. Self-fulfilling prophecy is like whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right.
Henry Ford?
Yes. Self-fulfilling bias, as I understand, is if you believe something, chances are you will only consume the information that backs up your belief. So, easy one in today's society. If you're a Daily Mail reader, you're probably slightly right-leaning and you're backing up your right-leaning beliefs. If you're left-leaning, maybe you're a Guardian reader and the Guardian will back up your beliefs.
I'm supposed to be the one that generalises, Joel.
It's pretty. But you're like, we know plenty of entrepreneurs who'll get a Guardian, a Mail, and a Times, and then try and get a rounded view. And that's kind of the generalist point I'm trying to make.
This friend of my mum's popped round, and he said, "Oh yeah, I was reading this article in the Daily Mail this morning," and he was quoting from it like it was the Bible. It was, oh my God! You can see how they have such a loyal backing. Obviously, not my cup of tea at all. But that's what happens, isn't it? Sometimes when you're loud, you're divisive, you will get these disciples behind you, which is why, to be honest, it's become a popular marketing route. I know some people whose sole marketing strategy is about being divisive. And they're actually the loveliest, nicest people you've ever met in the world, but you wouldn't think so on their social media.
I'm going to ask you to lean into your microphone a little bit more, please.
I'll budge over this way.
Or nudge it towards you. Lots of
now?
clangs and bangs.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Excellent. So do we see this in marketing? Self-confirming bias, for example. A business comes to us and says, right, I want you to do my Facebook ads for me. Well, why? And that's our first question. So if you ask a marketing agency that and they don't ask why, then sack them off. And it's usually because, well, I love Facebook, that's where everyone is, I read, and loads of my competitors are using Facebook ads. And all the research they will then naturally find will back up their belief. But ultimately, do you want Facebook ads or do you want whatever makes the till ring? And generally speaking, it's the latter.
Yeah, I get that. And I think the self-confirming bias from a business owner's perspective is always going to be around what they think they want rather than their why. So, and this happens to me and you all the time, our whys are very deep-rooted, it'll be legacy for our families, it'll be not growing up in our own shadow, that kind of stuff. And you end up getting into this short-term goal mentality of, oh, well, we haven't gained another client this month, or we haven't grown by 10% in the first quarter. And so then you start to go, well, what are our competitors doing that we're not doing? Or what car does the director of our nearest rival drive that I need to drive? And you start to convince yourself of the things you need to do to overcome that short-term goal or hurdle. And the reality is that if you get back to your why and look at the things that you were doing well to get you to where you are in the first place, they won't align with these short-term biases that you might. So a good example, Facebook ads, but another thing, nobody does any print marketing anymore because everyone's telling everyone that print is dead, which means that print is a massive opportunity for everyone, but that's a really unfashionable comment to make.
Yeah, and most of the stuff your research will tell you that print is dead, don't bother doing print. I see this a lot in the fitness industry. I don't know, let's say you don't like carbs, not fussed about carbs. So everything you read about dieting will lead you down the keto route, because that'll be, oh look, and everything you then find will back up why the keto diet's great.
Yeah. Because
you don't like carbs. And if you love carbs, if you're a bread monster and a pasta fiend,
sounds like me.
You won't like the keto diet at all. And strangely, you'll soon be finding research, because that's how the algorithms work online, that they'll start showing you all these diets where you can eat loads of carbs.
Yeah.
And it's just massive in the fitness industry, and it's Dieting's bloody well. Fucking hell. The diet I'm doing at the moment. Holy shit. That's not nice. No diets really are, which is why it's hard to market them. They've got to sound sexy.
It's quite tricky to watch you do this. I'm not going to lie. I mean, this is just going off on a tangent, but your entire lifestyle looks like a diet to me anyway. So then when you go on a shred, it's like mind-boggling because I think you live quite a restrictive lifestyle anyway, or you're just a supportive husband. That might be it.
It's hard when you've given up the booze because it's like, what do I have to look forward to tonight? As you know, in addition to spending time with my lovely wife and children, obviously. But it's like, you know, you think,
watching cycling.
Oh, what's for dinner tonight? Oh, what should we do? Or shall I stop here and get some? You know, shall I stop and get a takeaway, or shall I stop and buy a steak, whatever? No, it's all right. We've got lentils for the next 7 fucking days.
But even before your shred, you eat vegan maybe 5 days a week.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
You don't drink, like you say. You consume a lot more water than the average person. I'd say you exercise every day, near enough, in one form or another. So what bias led you to a shred? Oh, this has gone deep.
That's a really deep one, isn't it? Bloody hell. I think loads of diets are a load of bollocks. The only way to lose weight, as you know, James Smith, if you follow James Smith, you'll know what I'm on about, is a calorie deficit.
Yeah.
No matter what diet you do, at the end of the day, you need to burn off more calories than you consume. And I suppose because we've had spells of naughtiness, or when I say naughtiness, I mean like literally eating a little bit of cake now and then. My wife wants to lose a bit more weight. And so she's really, I mean, bloody hell, she's more single-minded than I am. So when she read about this 8-week shred thing, that's obviously going to put you in a calorie deficit. I think it starts off week 1, 1,600 calories. By week 8, it's like 1,200. Yeah, I know. That's how so when she started reading about sort of shreds and stuff, I was like, well, this sounds something we can do together. Then everything she's found has magically backed up why doing things in bursts can work. Not all the time, obviously, because obviously there are lots of people that subscribe to diets, and once they stop and just go back to their old ways, obviously all the weight goes back on.
Anton.
Yeah,
that's me. If we're being honest,
like
that's
yo-yo
me.
Diet as well.
Oh, you've probably watched me do that 20 times in the last 5 years. Get down to near ideal weight and then balloon back to.
It's I don't know what giving up the booze is the easiest thing, I think, because well, not the easiest thing, but it's sustainable.
Yeah.
So it's like you say, this 8-week shred, brilliant. But if we start, I don't know, eating cake and pasta and whatever, guess what? Weight's going to start going back on. But I think this self-confirming bias has been accentuated because of, like I mentioned, the algorithms. So once you start looking for stuff like, I don't know, you start Googling, can I lose weight but still eat carbs? And so you start finding information about how carbs are good and how, yes, you can lose weight but still eat pizza and pasta. Then guess what? You'll start getting served content like that, and it does become a self-confirming bias.
Yeah.
You're like, look, Joel, I found another article about why pasta and bread is a must for breakfast.
Pasta for breakfast.
Oh, I tell you, what's his name? James Digan. The clean, lean diet or something like that. But he's all about eating organic. So for him, like breakfast is like smoked salmon and scrambled eggs and stuff, and it's like, bloody, yeah, really nice. I think he's opened a gym in Chelsea or something.
Oily fish, that'd be the argument there. That's one that does the rounds all the time. It's like, oh, you can't eat oily fish, it's bad for you, it's full of fat. And then the next thing is, you've got to eat oily fish, it's good for your brain. And it depends which side of the fence you're on.
I went out with a marine biologist many years ago, and she wouldn't eat fish. Hated it. She'd start telling me all about mercury and all this stuff. And it was like, I was having a chippy tea that night as well.
Not because she loved fish then, just because.
You don't know, well, you know what fish swim in. It ain't rocket science, so I suppose you do need to limit your fish, but everything in moderation, as they say.
Right, I've got a good topical example of this confirmation bias. So, my mum, double vaccinated though she is quite wary of the vaccine, and on the basis that, well, it can't possibly have been tested enough because of the amount of time it took them to develop it. And what's the, sometimes depending on what mood she's in, what's the ulterior motive of these vaccination companies and stuff. And she watched a video on YouTube, the hub of accurate knowledge, and the guy in the video claimed to have worked for Pfizer and saying how dangerous it was. It's a new technology. It hasn't been tested. And I was in the car at the time. I nearly crashed the car. I said, "Do you think he really did work for Pfizer?" "Well, what do you mean? Why would he say it?"
Oh my God.
Okay. And have you Googled what he's saying? No. I'm like, well, Mum, I'm fairly sure mRNA vaccines have existed for 30 or 40 years. They're based on, genetic tweaking and stuff and protein spikes, and that they've been tested for all sorts of diseases and ailments, including AIDS, blah, blah, blah. Well, where have you got that from? Well, I was reading about...
Daily Mail.
Yeah. And I said to her, well, I went down a rabbit hole, and I think they're called yellow flags. They might not be called yellow flags, so don't quote me. Again, confirmation bias. But when any new vaccine comes, I think any vaccine that exists, if an incident happens where someone has an adverse reaction, or they die, or their eye pops out, or whatever, it's called a yellow something, and it has to be recorded by Public Health England. So you can go on the government website, and for any medication or vaccine, you can see the incidents.
Right.
And that's why I went down the rabbit hole of mRNA vaccines, to figure out how safe they are. And actually, as a proportion of the amount of people vaccinated, there's hardly any of these events compared to, say, the flu jab, right, or yellow fever jab, or whatever it might be. So I sent her all this documentation. Said, well, this is what I've read, and I'm quite happy I've had the vaccine. And it blew her mind, because she would never have been exposed to that information had she not made the mistake of bringing it up with me. And where I'm of the kind of mind, and I'm not saying, there's plenty of people out there that won't have the vaccine, that's fine. What I am saying is I'm of the kind of mind that if I think something, I try and research around the topic to disprove that idea before making a decision, because that will mitigate my risk in decision making. And often, as a business owner, the risks I take are higher than someone who's employed, let's say.
It's just stuff, isn't it? Sometimes in business, you've got to go with your gut feeling. I read this quote from, some old Roman bloke, Cicero or something, saying about...
Julius Caesar, that was it, wasn't it?
No, it was the other one. Lawrence Fishburne. It was something about... I had it on my phone. My phone's in the other room. About indecision is worse than making bad decisions. That indecision is the thief of opportunity.
Yeah. And
so sometimes in business, you have to make these decisions based on your gut and make decisions quickly. But also, just because Bob down the road or Sally in Scunthorpe tells you that, you're a plumber, you should be doing Facebook ads. It's like, well, no, do your research or speak to someone that will do the research for you.
Yeah.
So when I go to, a financial advisor, I'd like to think he offers me independent financial advice based around my budgets and goals, rather than, this is what you need to be doing. Everything in pensions, because that's what he likes doing, pensions. It's like, no, I want what's best for me. That could be pensions, it might not.
Yeah.
And sometimes, again, spend the time doing your research, or again, just go to an expert and let them do the hard work for you.
Yeah, exactly that. So if you're approaching a marketing company or a marketing agency, it's really important you go to them with your objective, and the mistake people make is they go to them with what they think they want. Now, a quick way to figure out if that agency or company is any good for you is when you go to them with your objective. If their first question is, well, what do you want? Something's very, very wrong. And we see that all the time. I went to a marketing agency and I asked them to run my Facebook ads for me, and they did. It's already gone wrong at that point. And that's a really kind of brave move as a business owner to say, right, I need expertise that we haven't got in this business. But to do that, I need to be willing to relinquish some control and let them do what they think is best. If you're not willing to let that company do what they think is best, they're not the right company for you.
Yeah, and that's another difficult thing about being a business owner. Let's face it, there's a bit of control freak in all of us. Otherwise, we'd just be working for someone else. But to understand that responsibility of being able to let go, as long as you're kept in the loop regularly, of course. So say for us, we have like monthly plan and review sessions. So this is what's going on, this is what we're going to be doing, what's coming up next. Because otherwise you are just totally in the dark. So I can understand that sometimes, you know, any supplier you might think, oh, I wonder what's happening with this service, but no one's been keeping in the loop. So I understand that. But if you're there micromanaging everything, it's going to be difficult, and I'd say that's probably going to be holding your business back, because you'll be involved in literally every single aspect, and you won't be working on the one thing that's going to help you, which is growing your business, working on your business, making it move forward.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, that for even us as business owners, that say we've got a legal situation that we want to sort out, a contractual situation. There's a time in every business owner's life where you're like, oh, I'll see if I can find a template online and I'll fill in the gaps. And then you reach a point at a certain size in business and you're like, well, I can't really rely on that, but it's a bit of a hammer blow to pay $2,000 for someone else to write it for me. But that's the step you have to take at that point. And that could be marketing, it could be your bookkeeping, it could be the legal side of your business, HR, it could be taking on staff that you know deep down your business can't grow anymore unless you take the hit to bring someone in. But unless you take the hit to bring someone in, you won't make that next step.
It's that, yeah, that investment. So I remember these will writers. Sometimes I think that they've got the easiest jobs in the world in terms of marketing their business, because obviously the pain stacking you can do there, immense. But a will writer talk about, you know, giving him £700, or you can go to WH Smith's and buy a do-it-yourself will writing kit for I think like £20. And obviously he was aware that loads of people would just, well, I'll just go and buy £20, just fill out the blanks and there we go. It's like, my God, so you're going to put the livelihood of your family, your children, stepchildren, no matter who it might be, you're going to put your money in the hands of a will writing kit you've picked up for £20 from Smith's. And but you've got to accept there are some people who'd rather do that. There are some people who would rather spend days figuring out how to write up a contract themselves, or spending weeks going on a Facebook ads course or something. And don't get me wrong, we know people who've gone on social media courses and they've come away with a shitload of knowledge. And as long as they're prepared to carry on
Application, yeah.
Applying it, absolutely, not getting bored in a couple of weeks. Or obviously, in something like Facebook ads, things change pretty quickly, and so what worked 6 weeks ago might not work now. So it's always got to be continual learning. And like I say, it is taking that risk. It's about being objective and thinking, okay, well, I've heard that X, Y, Z will be good for my business, and that's the content that I seem to be magically getting served now. No, I need to do my research properly into this, or speak to an expert, so I can make what ultimately what I want at the end of the day is for the phone to ring more often.
Yeah, and I think that's something, you know, obviously we do a marketing and mindset business podcast with the hope that people listen to this and consider us as their marketing company. However, if as an entrepreneur, sales and marketing, or just sales or just marketing is your key passion and the bit you're good at, it's the other elements you should be outsourcing. And I'm okay with that. We won't be you're not our client avatar, and that's okay. That we want to attract business owners that the last thing they want to be doing is tweaking a Facebook ad on a Friday night, because they would rather put that in experts' hands. But if you are really, really passionate about the marketing side, and that is how you've grown your business from day dot, then it's all the other bits that you need to seek expert advice for, and keep doing the bit that you enjoy and you're passionate about and that makes the boat go faster. And often I think what confirmation bias can do is you end up in a situation where listening to what everyone else tells you should be doing, when actually you know that you sitting down for 2 hours every morning and writing down your checklist for the day, or tweaking your Facebook ads, or ringing round all your high value clients, is the single thing that shifts the needle on your business. And so therefore that's the thing you should be doing, rather than listening to all the noise around you.
Was it Henry Ford again? What he said, if I'd asked everyone what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse.
Yeah.
And I see this on LinkedIn at the moment. LinkedIn I've got problems with at the moment. It's just becoming clickbait central. But a lot of people on LinkedIn are asking you their opinions on something to do with their business. And generally speaking, the people connected to you are going to be supporting you. And they'll be biased and they'll tell you lovely stuff that you really, that's what you really want to hear, rather than saying, sorry Bob, your video's actually shit. You and all the way through it. You haven't got a point. It's way too long. You're not really in focus properly, and you don't take up a right proportion of the screen. They're going to say, "Oh, Bob, well done for doing the video. Oh, I wish I had the guts to do a video. Oh, I'm so proud of you. Well done for doing that." And that's not going to. That's lovely, but it's not going to help you.
3-4 years ago, you and I probably would fall into that trap. We would ask the question of the wrong audience, not necessarily on LinkedIn, but certainly I was going to network groups, and some of my peers were going to appease me rather than put me right. And the way both of us have solved that is we've got mentors, we've got a joint coach as well, and they are not people pleasers. They will tell you. I might not always agree with them, which is okay as well, but they will tell me straight. And I think you reach a point in any walk of life where you need that.
And I think family are the worst, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but again, the bias they have, that they love you and want to support you. So even when, and this may even stop your business getting off the ground, you've got an awesome business idea, you're thinking about starting up a business for the first time, and you ask your family, what do they think? Now, unless they're successful business owners themselves, chances are they'll be like, oh,
Are you
sure pandemic hasn't probably gone away? Or you're probably going to need to use your savings. Oh, Joe, there's a lot of stress being a business owner, and you know what you're like, or you better. And before you know it, all the joy's gone, and you just go back to your day job.
Yeah.
And again, they mean well, they're just trying to support you. But again, asking opinions of everyone rather than seeking out an independent, unbiased third party or doing your proper due diligence. It's just going to be financially and emotionally so much better for you.
And another one with family, that we've touched on this on the podcast before, but if you're struggling and you go home and you're clearly sad or upset or stressed, family will do that, put their arm around your thing and tell you everything's going to be all right. Equally, if you're thriving and you go home buzzing, they'll quickly bring you down a peg or two, which you need that grounding, but not necessarily when you're in a stage of business growth. You probably need someone who's going to give you a nudge to take it to the next level. And so that's why family aren't always good. And equally, as a business owner, you're probably very often going to be surrounded by staff. The staff don't want you to come to them with the questions. They don't want to solve the problem as much as you do. So yeah, you'll sit down with the management team and you should be employing experts that can help you solve some of the issues. But if you go to them and say, I don't know, we're really struggling on this account, what do you think, apprentice, in terms of how we shift the strategy around on this? You're asking the wrong person. And that kind of, I mean, we talk about, you're the product of the 5 people you spend the most time with, or certainly be careful who your peers are and that kind of thing. But it's really true. If you're in the pub on a Friday night and you say to your mates, oh, I'm really struggling with getting over this hurdle, and they can't relate to that, ask yourself if you're in the right environment, or use that environment for another reason. So if you're there to switch off and those people help you switch off, that's good. That's a good enough reason. But if you're there because you want moral support and those people can't provide that moral support, you're not in the right audience.
Yeah, bloody hell, we're going deep again today, aren't we? But yeah, I do see this rife, and it's ultimately, I suppose people just want to hear what they want to hear.
Yeah.
And they want to. I spoke to a guy this morning, potential new client, and he was looking for some help with something. And the marketing agency spoke to go, oh, yeah, okay, so I understand what you need to, but your website ain't up to scratch. You need us to do your website as well, which is fair enough. That's usually the final link in the chain. And so they did this whole new website, but basically the leads still weren't coming in, and he was like 10 grand down or something. But because it all looked nice and shiny and bright colours and read pretty well, he was quite happy. But he hadn't really realised that, well, I'm getting all this traffic now, but it's not converting, and he hadn't thought about the whole story. He was sort of sold on the whole bias out there about, we see it rife in our industry, that it's the likes, it's the follows, it's the pretty pink diamonds that fly. No, that's all fucking style. There's no substance behind it. Who cares if your website traffic went up 50%? If your inquiries went down 50%? I'm not saying your website has to look like shit, but it's got to work. And that's what I'm on a mission this bloody year, to make business owners see that your marketing has to have purpose. And that
Substance,
doesn't mean a hard-hitting sales message behind every post. No, of course not. Don't just spam everyone. But if you just look through your feeds or look on your website and think, yeah, it all looks really pretty, put yourself in someone else's shoes, potential customer, your customer avatar shoes, and think, right, am I now more or less likely to buy? That's a hard question to ask yourself.
Yeah, I had that exact chat with the team this morning. We were talking about social media content, and I said, if we're putting social media content out there and it doesn't move that business towards their final objective in one way or another, we're doing them a disservice. And we talked about, that might be positioning, that might be a call to action, that might be some form of entertainment that just brings a smile to the face of the right person. It might be something that informs the audience that they otherwise wouldn't have known. But all these things that when someone posts a picture of their cat and it's got no context or relevance to their business, their objectives, they are just fishing for engagement.
This is LinkedIn again.
Well, it is, but I'm not afraid. I quite often use pictures of my dog on my LinkedIn because I know it will grab engagement. But what I then do on top of that is put something informative or entertaining or useful within the post. So I use the dog as the hook to grab the engagement, but then when you actually read, there is some substance to what I'm doing, where a lot of people will be like, isn't my cat silly? What a start to the day. What use is that to anyone? All I know now is that you're a crazy cat person.
And I think half of them will be crazy cat people. And I think another half will be, in their own naive way, deliberately trying to cheat the algorithm. Every time I post a cat picture, it gets loads of engagement. Oh, that's brilliant, I'll do more of that. And I think that's going to be the undoing of LinkedIn, to be honest, because I think there'll be a migration of, not serious business owners, I'm not saying people who post cat pictures aren't serious about their business, but the world will be crying out for a more business-orientated platform.
Yeah, and I'm pretty anti saying, oh, this isn't Facebook, which I know is something that's done their rounds for a couple of years, because I think a social media platform is whatever the audience wants it to be. That's the risk you have with building a social media platform. But we saw it with Facebook, that people started to disengage with the feed. It's a lot less of a noisy place than it was 4 years ago. And we're going to see it with LinkedIn, that people will get to a point where they're like, well, I've seen this content before, this isn't helping me, either on a personal social level or a business level. And the sort of confirmation bias is that you get to a point where stuff gets regurgitated so many times that people stop believing it. They stop seeing the point of it. I remember when Instagram launched and all you saw was pictures of people's dinner.
Oh God, yeah.
And it took a long time for them to get away from that.
Yeah, I find it hard. People who use social media to rant, which is okay, that's fine. Everyone needs to rant once in a while. Sometimes it can be like just ranting into the dark. But people like sharing all their woes. Now, I hope firstly that they're actually sharing their woes with real life people, friends in their network who can support them and G them up when they need it. But when that's the majority of your posts and you can see a ton of engagement, it almost seems to be a competition now.
If it's your hook, you've got something. Because the reason to share woes on a business level, I'm not talking about if you share a woe in a Facebook group or something or a LinkedIn group, that might be a sensible place. But you share a woe on your company LinkedIn page to show how you overcame that woe, and it makes you more relatable from a marketing standpoint. It's like, oh bloody hell, I've been through that too. Maybe I can overcome it if I speak to you guys. But what we're seeing is people sharing the woe and then basically saying, has anybody else gone through this? which isn't the same. You're creating the relatability but without the solution. So all you're doing is compounding the problem. And I find that a really peculiar thing to do from someone who understands mental health more than others, I would like to think, which is a big claim. But compounding your issues isn't wise. Seeking solace in others probably is, but doing that to your 800 followers on LinkedIn, I find it.
And when you see that kind of engagement, I think it's very easy for a lot of businesses to think, oh, this is the way forward.
Yeah.
So when I've had a bad day, or when it is Casper the cat's 3rd birthday, I'll do a post about that. And to be honest, we talk a lot. I mean, maybe that we should do another podcast about vanity metrics. Again, it's the whole numbers game about, oh, look, I got 50 likes on that post.
I'll give you.
How many of those bought off you?
I'll give you a prime example. And this is risky because if she listens to this, she's going to be pissed. But
Your mum again?
No,
Oh.
But I don't feel like we're getting our point over as distinct. I'm not saying you can't have problems. Everyone's got problems, and I'm not saying you shouldn't share them with the right people. You should, but somebody famous passed away last week, so I won't go into too many details. Somebody famous passed away last week from cancer, and someone who's relatively well known in local business circles where we are posted, "So sad that such and such passed away from cancer," and then straight away, "My dad passed away from cancer, blah, 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 blah." And it was like, hang on. You've taken what is quite a very sad event, and certainly sad for a lot of people who followed this person, and you've used all that momentum, obviously not all of it, but you've used a lot of that momentum within your circles to switch the attention to you on something sad that happened to you. So, I just can't comprehend that. I don't know what that does on a personal level, on a business. All it is attention grabbing.
I can't imagine like someone famous, I know, dying from like heart disease, and me turning to a post about, because that's what happened to my old man. It's yeah. I've seen quite a few posts along those lines. I've seen quite a few posts about this person's passing, and some people again genuinely want to share what sad news and it is. But when you try and turn it about you, or you try and get Remembrance Day.
Yeah.
Last year. So people obviously, remembering people who sacrificed or paid the ultimate price, and obviously something we believe in, we're passionate about. This company did.
Were they a poppy company? Sorry, I just needed to lighten the tone.
Not related to poppies at all. Did a big post, a big picture about remembering our fallen, and then he splashed in the middle, "If you want a taxi, call us on." It's like, holy fuck! I
can't be honest.
Like,
I mean, it's completely disgraceful, but it's so bad that I quite like it.
It's like, holy shit! It's like remember, and it's like you've turned it into.
Remember the fallen, and remember, once you finish your kebab, dial 0122.
Oh dear. I mean, we've seen quite a few people take days and spin it to be all about themselves because I had a bad day as well. I mean, the whole Caroline Flack thing that was just so sad. What seemed to be like an absolutely lovely person,
and what that should have become is an awareness of mental health,
which some people like Ollie Mures and people like
did really brilliant stuff.
Some really, and it was just sad to see some people like just again innocently, I'm sure, naively, just not seeing the point, and to turn it like, because I've had a bad day too.
Yeah. Where, to point out, if you're in that place, absolutely find whatever way you can to get your message out there, to speak to people. And we're not talking about you. We're talking about the people who they see news like Caroline Flack, and then they use that to grab attention for themselves. That's just bad. So, back to confirmation bias and to summarise, what's the most stupid thing you've ever been led to believe because of confirmation bias?
Oh, goodness me.
I've got a good one if you're struggling.
I was gonna say it was actually about Facebook ads, because generally speaking,
Oh, yours is far more sensible than mine.
oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Let's do yours.
Okay, so Facebook ads, they can work for most businesses. We use them for probably pretty much every client, but that doesn't mean that's the only paid for route you go down. Pretty much every client, we will use Facebook ads, but we'll also use some other type of ad, and we will split test. We will follow the numbers. Now, our long experience in the game will enable us to start in a very good place for the client anyway.
Yeah.
So we'll be able to make an experienced judgment call of where to start. But the numbers ultimately matter more than our knowledge and experience. So if it turns out that, look, Facebook ads are working really well, but the LinkedIn ads campaign we're doing for them is working even better. Holy shit, well, let's divert more budget to the LinkedIn ad campaign. So Facebook ads, awesome, a huge marketing pillar for most of the businesses we help grow, but they ain't the be-all and end-all.
Oof.
But most places you read will say, you must be doing Facebook ads, you must be doing Facebook ads. Well, okay, what about, open your eyes to are there other forms of paid for advertising that could work for me?
Hey, that was very sensible.
Oh, that's sensible. What's yours? You're silly then.
So at school...
Is this another bloody Church Stretton horror story?
No, in assembly. You'll have heard this one.
Horror stories. Watch that Fear Street?
No idea what that is.
So 3 Fridays in a row, Netflix released 3 films. Fear Street, 1994. Fear Street, 1974, I think. And then Fear Street, 1678.
Yeah.
And it's about this town in America where some mad witch died in the 1600s, but basically reincarnated different people. So it's just full of like all these mad, crazy deaths and serial killers and shit, all set in these 3 different time periods, but with a link between. So we've only seen the first one now, set in '94. So it's all Pixies musical stuff, really cool, lots of retro pop stuff. And then we're going to watch the next one tonight, I think, which is set in 1978 or something, and it's got the red-headed girl from Strange Things 2 and 3, Mad Max.
Yeah.
She plays the lead. But yeah, really cool, sort of high school horror.
How the hell have you got onto that?
Because you were talking about horror school story.
Oh no, you said is this you led it with your confirmation. Is this going to be a horror story? No.
Worth seeing though. It came out recently. So I tell you, led me on to something else now. There's a girl who's got a decent-ish role in Fear Street 1994. I was like, Emma's like, oh, she's in Stranger Things. Yeah, she's the ice cream girl in Stranger Things 3. Looked her up. Do you know who I mean?
Yeah.
Do you know whose daughter she is?
Someone very famous, I'm guessing.
Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman's daughter.
Oh, I did know that, yeah.
I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, I did know that.
Anyway, totally sidetracked now.
Okay, well, this isn't a horror story. And so, but you'll have definitely heard this urban legend or whatever it is. So our deputy head teacher stood up in front of the whole school, so 600 pupils or whatever, it wasn't a massive school, said, the story of how Coca-Cola turned Father Christmas red, and told us this story. And then if you Google it, if you go on loads of articles telling you how Coca-Cola
used to be green or
turned in red, Santa used to be green, yeah. Absolute bollocks. Absolute nonsense. He's been all sorts of different colours, brown, green, red, blue. But red was a very prominent version of him in all sorts of things when he was St. Nicholas, when he's Santa Claus, when he's Father Christmas, when he's whatever else he's called. And obviously that aligned with Coca-Cola's brand, so they used the red version and popularised it in the United States and therefore the rest of the world. At no point did they turn Father Christmas red. But confirmation, just because someone senior to us in secondary school, I believe that. I believe that until my mid-20s. And when I researched it to check, there was plenty of stuff out there that backed up what I was saying. But actually, not true.
Bloody hell. Comes back to those sort of LinkedIn conversations. We all want to hear things that we think are true, that are nice, and that reassure us that yes, we're right, we're smart cookies, Joel.
Yeah.
That's what people want. That's what people want to hear. They want that pat on the back.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
if the
yeah.
internet can provide it, the internet will provide it in spades, believe me.
Oh, hugely, exactly. You can open the rabbit hole for whatever you want, and the Earth is flat, and no one's going to tell me any different.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I tried to join the Flat Earth Society, but when I asked him if COVID had pushed him over the edge, didn't go.